Good morning. If I've learned anything at all in my incarnation as Peter Fox, it's that life is about the journey, not the destination. So here's my brief, radically redacted Cliff Notes version of that journey, my journey. Growing up in a relatively bucolic suburb of New York City, I knew I was Jewish because my parents insisted that I and my siblings stay home indoors on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I knew these holidays had something to do with the Jewish New Year, but that's about all I knew. My parents were confirmed agnostics. We were culturally, but not in any way religiously or spiritually, Jewish. I received next to no Judaic education. The family never joined a temple, and I didn't go to Hebrew school. I still don't speak Hebrew. I was about as fully assimilated as a secular Jew in America could get. However, we did celebrate Passover at our home each spring with a large gathering of aunts and uncles and cousins, employing the ubiquitous Maxwell House Haggadah. However abridged that may have been, the Passover Seder spoke to me. I was enchanted by the mythic tale of how the Jewish people yearned for and successfully achieved freedom from Egyptian slavery. Passover became my favorite Jewish holiday and remains so to this very day. My mother died after a year-long bout with misdiagnosed ovarian cancer while I was still in college. She was only 55, I was 22. Throughout her illness, the family pretty much pretended it wasn't happening. When she died, we didn't know how to express our grief. Not a clue. No funeral service, no way to say goodbye. In my early 20s, after the untimely death of my mother, I began attending services at the Ethical Culture Society of New York. For ethical humanists, the ultimate issues are not about the existence of God or gods or an afterlife, but rather how best to create a meaningful life and relate to our fellow human travelers on this journey. That spoke to me. For many years I continued to consider myself culturally, but certainly not religiously, Jewish. Then, while vacationing on Shelter Island one summer, I literally stumbled upon the Religious Society of Friends, otherwise known as Quakers. Quaker meeting and Quaker practice radically changed my life. I came to love the silent gathering into which I and my fellow progressive, anti-war focused, socially and environmentally engaged Quaker friends quietly immersed ourselves on each first day, that is to say Sunday. I became extremely close to a Jewish couple who were members of our Quaker meeting, and with their encouragement and blessing, I began to identify myself as a Jewish Quaker. My Quaker friend Howard Yam, of blessed memory, and he became like a big brother to me. Howie and I eventually compiled a progressive Haggadah of our own, which we employed at Passover Seders for our Quaker friends, and with which I came to lead a series of remarkably well-attended, profoundly meaningful Seders in my own family. From 2008 through 2012, I attended weekly Sacred Circle services midweek at Medicine Science Spiritual Center in Pembroke Pines. Medicine Science called itself the Church of the Way of the Messiahs, plural. My spiritual growth accelerated at Medicine Science with guided meditations, past life regressions, and more. Following a year-long ministry course that focused on the universal teachings of the great prophets and teachers throughout the ages, I was ordained at a ceremony with my rabbi and several close friends, including my dear friend Pam Kelly. In 2009, I was introduced to Temple Adafor, the South Florida Center for Jewish Renewal. I resonated with this musical, mystical, Kabbalistic version of Judaism, where we sang and we danced and we meditated and connected directly with the divine. And just as the Quakers had done, my Jewish renewal community welcomed and embraced me. But change is the only constant. And for various and sundry reasons, over the course of the past several years, I became less fully involved with the temple. Early in 2020, just as COVID began to put the kibosh on public gatherings, I quietly began dipping my toes, my virtual toes, into the river. How does a nice Jewish, Buddhist, Quaker boy like me wind up in the river? I think I fit right in. In spite of attending the river virtually during the pandemic via Zoom, I was carefully and gently guided, informed, educated, inspired by some wonderful new ROG friends. And I became an active and enthusiastic member of the Moonlight Owls, our new members covenant group. Moonlight Owls uses the monthly UU Soul Matters series with topics like relationships, beauty, imagination, awakenings, joy, our own stories, and more. This river runs deep. You river folks are the most generous, kind, caring, socially active, and welcoming religious and spiritual community I have ever had the good fortune to encounter. It took the better part of a lifetime, but it feels like this UU, Boo Jew, Quaker Jew, nature-worshipping soul has finally found his way home. I am truly blessed to embrace and be embraced by this loving community. Thank you.